Hey guys, episode 6 right here, NHBA podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Gould. We got a good one for you here today. This podcast brought to you by our sponsor, Purina Pro Plan Dog Food. Find out what top nutrition can do for your hounds today. Today we're going to have Trevor McQueen on to help me take a look at our top 8 dogs in the NHBA Sectional Race. And we're also going to take a look at this new NHBA Hall of Fame format. I'm real excited about both these things, folks. Should be a great episode. Stick around. Welcome back. Episode 6. As you can tell, I'm excited, guys. I've been wanting to take a look at these top NHBA dogs for a while now. We're kind of at the halfway point of this year's race, kind of that summer lull where you just have a couple sectionals. And we're going to take a look at this point race, guys. And we've got 10 plus dogs that we're going to review that are just right there close, within striking distance of not just making the top 8, but winning this thing. We got a lot of hunts still to go this late summer and fall period, and it's truly anybody's game. Truly anybody's game. We all know that top 8, not only does that get you into that big prize package from the NHBA, but it also gets you that first round bye at the Clash of Champions region. So, you know, that's, I'm excited to look at that. We're going to also review our show race and our youth race. We're going to go over that youth list and see where that race stands, because it is a tight one at the top, very tight one at the top as well. Also, we're going to have Trevor help me with the NHBA format. As most of you know, the NHBA Hall of Fame procedures have changed. It's going to now be a merit-based point system. And we're going to show you how to get your dog into that NHBA Hall of Fame. So this episode is going to be jam-packed with some good stuff for you. Before we bring Trevor on, I just want to thank each and every one of you for listening. And also want to mention, if you have some suggestions for interviews you'd like to hear, or maybe you have a segment you think would be a good segment for us, reach out to me. Be glad to help you. If you'd like a hard copy or a digital copy, we can provide that to you for the Hall of Fame format. We've got all that in print. Be glad to provide it to you. And if you have any questions for that on the new Hall of Fame format, feel free to reach out to us on that as well. So let's bring Trevor McQueen onto the podcast. Hope y'all enjoy. Let's be off. All right, everybody, let's welcome Trevor McQueen onto the podcast. Glad to have you back, Trevor. How's it going this evening?
Pretty good. Enjoying the heat.
Oh, dude, it has been brutal out there, man. I'm sitting here this evening, got me a fresh cup of coffee, and I'm ready to talk some dogs with you, buddy.
Sounds good.
I was telling the listeners here before you come on, we've got an exciting segment here for everybody. When we first started these podcasts, you and I talked a little bit about, how do we bring some spotlight to these guys and their dogs that are out here in this point race, and this sectional point race. And so we're going to shed some light on those dogs, Trevor. And, man, they deserve it. It's a heck of a race this year.
It is. There's a lot of dogs close.
It really is. We're going to get more into that, folks, here just briefly. Before we get started, Trevor, I think you had an announcement that you wanted to, I don't know if it's called an announcement, but you wanted to get into something here about the Waynesburg Beagle Club. Recent sectional, they had big entry number, big hunt at the Terry Limley Memorial. So I'll go ahead and let you tell the listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, so every year the Waynesburg Beagle Club hosts, I believe this is the second year, maybe third year, that they have hosted the Terry Lemley Memorial Hunt. And they take nearly all, if not all, of their proceeds from that hunt and donate back to the NHBA. And this has been something ongoing for them. They donated a little over $3,500. I don't know the exact amount, but it was over $3,500 that they donated back to NHBA this year. And NHBA would like to thank all of the Waynesburg Beagle Club members, those that guided, that weren't members, those that helped measure dogs, everybody that helped put that hunt on. That is a huge donation to NHBA. That helps us do these prize packages and everything. So on behalf of NHBA, we definitely want to thank the Waynesburg Beagle Club for that.
That's really incredible, man. That's an awesome club, guys. I know I've said it here on the podcast before, but one of the premier clubs in the country, and just a great group of guys. Not just great running and those kind of things, but just good people. And as Trevor said, we really appreciate it.
You know, just to add to that a little bit, Mitch, that was one of those hunts that not only did they donate all that money to NHBA, they also had an amazing prize package for that hunt.
Oh, they did. Yeah, I don't remember the exact number. Do you?
No, I want to say maybe
that youth package is pretty awesome. What they do for those kids.
Yes.
Pretty awesome event. I know they had well over 100 entries again, which for middle of summer is pretty incredible, really.
Yeah, they might have got to 150 over 2 days even.
Really?
Yeah, I believe they had a lot of entries.
150 entries. All right. Let's before we go much further here, Trevor, I got a few questions this week through email or messenger or on the podcast Facebook page. And it was some guys from some other formats that are taking a look at UKC and NHBA, becoming an NHBA member. And they asked me, they said, I'm a little confused. What is the NHBA? Is it the same? Their question was, is it the same as UKC? Which was a fair question, because if you just jumped in here, midstream, maybe like podcast number 3 or 4, and didn't hear that first podcast, you might be kind of wondering to yourself a little bit about that. So do you care to expand on that a little bit for our listeners?
So it's NHBA is not the same as UKC. However, we are the breed association, the Beagle Breed Association for UKC. NHBA has our own sponsors. We do our own prize packages. Us, along with UKC, put together some of the prize packages, like for the regional winners at the Clash and all of that. So we kind of work hand in hand with UKC, but NHBA is a separate entity that is associated with UKC, basically. Yeah,
and that you worded that very well there, and that's what I tried to explain that, and I wanted to make sure we got that on the podcast. That the United Kennel Club's been around over 100 years. I want to say probably 125 years. And the Beagle program itself is obviously owned and ran by UKC, located in Michigan, and I believe was 1990 is when this format started, the hunting Beagle format through UKC. So NHBA, being founded in 2000, over 20 years ago, is the breed association. And just to let everybody know, what does that mean? Well, as Trevor mentioned there, the Hound of the Year points race is what you would call in a lot of other formats, is the NHBA sectional series. So instead of calling it the Hound of the Year, that's the terminology we use. And And obviously that's one of the things we're going to cover here today as we update you at the midpoint or the halfway point of the year-long series. So I hope we explained that, Trevor. I guess if anybody else, if we didn't, they'll let us know. But it's been a great partnership for the sport, in my opinion.
It has. It's worked out for both. I think we've helped UKC, and I think UKC has helped us.
Absolutely. Okay, so what do you want to do, Trevor? Do you want to get into the kind of update these folks on the sectional race, or do you want to do the Hall of Fame? You want to do the Hall of Fame?
I'd say we do the sectional race first.
Yeah, I think so too. So guys, what we're going to do is, again, we're at the halfway point of this points race. I want to go through the top 10, and I'll tell you why we're going to go through the top 10 here. So the top 8 dogs would be the finalists, you would call it, that we look for at the end of each year. So your top 8 dogs, they get that buy, right? They get that buy into the region of the Clash of Champions. And that's that joint partnership Trevor mentioned with UKC where we work together. The Clash of Champions is a UKC program hunt. But the sectional series affects that hunt. So you make the top 8 of this list, you got a first round buy at that $35,000 payout in the region. I can't stress that enough how cool that is. Not only that top 8 guys, but Trevor, you don't have to go through the whole list, but can you just mention some of the prizes those top 8 get for me?
Garmin Alphas, extra collars, the top 6 get Garmin Alphas, I believe. 7th and 8th, I believe, get a Garmin 10. Lots of there's cash, there's dog food. I mean, it's the best prize package in Beagles for a Hound of the Year race, bar none. I mean, I haven't seen anything that compares to it, actually.
And after we go through these dogs, Trevor, I want to at least go through the youth race because we got a tight one there at the top between a couple fine houndsmen, young houndsmen. Yep. And that Purina has a lot to do with that, don't they?
Yeah, Purina actually sponsors the entire youth series for NHBA.
We'll get more into that when we get into that section, but can't thank them enough as we always try to do. So we'll go through these sectional hounds, guys, and then we'll look at that youth race, and then I want to mention our top 2 dogs that are in the show point race standings right now as well. So, Trevor, can you just explain a little bit? We're going to use some terminology here that might be new to folks. So, kind of a macro level looking at this points race. How does this thing work?
So basically, we have single point hunts and double point hunts. The double point hunts are the state hunts, and each state is allowed to have one what we call a super sectional per state. So each state can have 2 double point hunts a year, other than our UKC's major events, which would be like our some other formats call them the Big 5 hunts. Those are also all double points. So if you win a cast, you get 1 point. Obviously, at the double point hunts, you win a cast, it's 2 points. Then our major events, if you make the top 4, you get bonus points. First place gets 4, second place gets 3, third place gets 2, fourth place gets 1. And that's pretty much how the points are laid out.
So there you go, folks. So it's kind of like if you're a NASCAR fan, you know, you're whatever they used to call it, the Winston Cup, or I don't know what they call it now, Trevor, but you know, you're hunting all year long. You're going to these sectionals, these designated sectional events, and you know, you're trying to be the top dog. You're trying to win this point race. It's a year-long style event, as Trevor mentioned, and I think on another podcast, Trevor, we mentioned, you know, it takes a consistent, very consistent dog to win this. Making the top 8 in of itself is a great accomplishment. And, you know, if anybody has any questions or not just with anything about NHBA or anything in general, you can shoot out a message to any of us on the NHBA Facebook page, or you can comment on this podcast, and we'll get right with you. I always mention at the end of these podcasts, Trevor, about trying to encourage people to come join the NHBA. And, I hope as we do this segment here, they get to see a little bit about what it means to be a member and how important it is for the sport, what we do for the youth. And when I say we, I mean the membership. I just think it's something I know our membership's growing, and hopefully it continues to grow here the rest of this year and next year.
I hope so. I mean, this is all done by volunteers. All of the money goes back to the hunters, the kids, through prizes, scholarships, everything. Nobody's getting a dime. It all goes back to the hunters. So
absolutely. And guys, if you're wondering a little bit about, as we mentioned, NHBA being the breed association for the hound and hunter, or actually UKC's official terminology, I think it's the hunting beagle format. Alan Gingrich actually just did a podcast on UKC's, their own podcast, talking in detail a little bit about the rules and how the format works. So I'm not going to take up any of our time with that today, but you can find their podcast on Podbean as well. And Alan talks in great detail with Trevor Wade about those rules and how our hunts work. And it's called the hunting beagle format for a reason. It's designed around dogs being casted in 4-dog casts and hunted as if you were gun hunting. So that's just kind of something I wanted to mention here. If you're wondering a little bit, how's the rules exactly work at these sectional events, I would refer you there. We'd get you rule books. All you'd have to do is reach. So, okay, Trevor. Well, we're going to take a look at these top 8 sectional dogs. I'm excited to say, guys, that this, to my knowledge, Trevor, might be the closest race maybe ever.
Yeah, it's possible. It's closer. It's as close as it has been in years past, all the way down through.
Well, before we get into the individual dogs, I want everybody to know that our number 1 dog right now has 26 points, okay? If I go down here to, I got 2 dogs tied for 10th at 16. So between 1 and 10, there's a 10-point difference, and that's it. Now, when you think about a super sectional being worth, what, Trevor, 8 points at most of our super sectionals?
8 points. And I believe, put a little plug in, I believe there is a super sectional coming up in Michigan.
There is.
Any of these dogs could show up and get 8 points. The 10th place dog could be sitting tied for second, 2 points behind the leader from one weekend. That is possible right now.
That's pretty phenomenal. And I'm looking here, we go 26, 24, 23, 21, 20, 20, 19, 18, 18, 16, 16. So between the first place and the 4th place, there's 5 points. 5-point difference on who's going to win this thing. And you might hear it in my voice. I'm getting a little bit excited, Trevor. These point races, man, I love point races. This time in my life, I'm not able to run the points race like I used to in years past. But I don't know about you, but I just really enjoy it. I know these guys got to be excited where they're sitting. A lot of fun.
Hey, right now, I'm just living vicariously through them chasing these points.
That's right. I wish I was there with them. It's just fun to get out on the road and challenge your dog in some different conditions. And, you go see some people you don't get to see all the time and get to hang out with those guys. And, just like the Homer, Michigan Super Sectional you mentioned, I'd actually have loved to be able to go to that. And I'd be all the way up there thinking, man, we go up there and hang out with some friends and, and that's what I probably miss the most about being able to go to as many of these as I'd like to be able to go to. And I think that's a little bit, why the NHBA structured it as a top 8. because I want to scroll down here a minute, Trevor. You know, maybe you're saying to yourself, I can't go, every single weekend to these sectionals. You know, there's a lot of sectionals. I can't go to all of them. But you say to yourself, well, I might be able to get in that top 8, right, Trevor? I mean, that's a big accomplishment as well. And, you know, I look down here at our number 8 dog, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Yeah, our number 8 dog here with 18 points.
Yeah, actually, both dogs tied for 8th place.
Yeah,
They're both Michigan dogs. I'm willing to bet they're both going to be in Homer, Michigan.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Well, I'll just go ahead and say it, Trevor. It's the Dude dog, and the Sarah dog of Eric Yance, tied at 18. But then when I go below them, folks, I look way down the list. I'm talking down here in the 20s, and I see a bunch of dogs tied with 12 points. I see Cold Winter Breeze at 13, Nothing Fancy Lunatic at 14. Those dogs all are just right there in distance. I mean, one weekend we could have a dog that's in the 24th place right now. They could jolt right into the top 8 in one single weekend.
Yeah, Gary. Yep, very, very possible.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into this, Trevor. I'm going to start here up top. We'll just start at our number 1 dog. I've got some good information. I appreciate all the top 8 that reached back out to me. I talked to each one of these houndsmen. They provided me with some good pedigrees, where their points came from, just some little tidbits and nuggets for our listeners about how things are going for them this year. I got to get me a swig of coffee here, Trevor, before we get into this. A little caffeine never hurt nobody. All right. Number 1 dog currently sitting in our NHBA Sectional Race 2023 would be Heat 'em Up Superstar with 26 points. This 3-year-old female owned by Josh Ware, Cody Rucker, Jason Vandergriff. Jason has been the handler on Star this year, folks. If that name sounds familiar to you guys, Trevor, this dog she's been in a couple final casts, I guess you might say.
Yeah, she's been in a couple. She's been a very consistent winner.
Now, I think she finished, was she 2nd or 3rd last year, Trevor, in our sectional race? Something like that.
I'm not sure where she finished. She was up there, but
yeah, she was number 1 for a lot of the year. Finished in our top 4 last year, the 2-year-old. She's back this year as a 3-year-old. Some statistics on this dog, guys. She's been in, I think I got this right, 5 Big 5 final casts at the Nationals. She goes finalist, runner-up in the Grand Nationals. She goes finalist in the Clash of Champions. I don't know what that was, Trevor. Was that a $2,500 winner, something like that? $3,500 winner?
That was 2nd this year.
I think she was 3rd in that.
3rd, yeah. I think 25.
Okay, so she starts out the year here. I'm looking at her points, folks. She wins at the Eliminator, getting that double points is a good start to the year for her. She doesn't make the trip to NHBA days. Not sure if she was in heat. Don't remember that one. So she misses a huge point hunt, and I want to mention that in a minute, Trevor. NHBA days is worth a lot of points.
Yeah, the most that's the largest. That's the chance to earn the most points of the year.
Exactly, and I want to say this year they were worth 4 points apiece. I think was it 4 points at quad? It was like a quad per cast.
Yeah, it was a dog could earn 12 points at NHBA days.
Yes, sir. So she goes, then she goes to Nationals, which I just mentioned. She's a double cast winner there, makes the finals. Then she goes, and she's hanging around at that point, top 8, hanging around. Then she goes to the Terry Limley Memorial Hunt that Trevor and I just talked about, guys, in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. And she did something that's kind of rare, Trevor. In the last couple of years, since the format changed, it's pretty rare a dog win 4 out of 4 casts in a weekend.
That's right.
So she goes to the Limley and wins 4 out of 4, and that jumps her way up here and actually puts her at the number 1 position. I can remember trying to remember last time a dog won 4 out of 4. I remember Mongo might have won 4 out of 4 at the McVeigh one year. And I know there's other dogs that have done it, but in my mind draws a blank, so it must be pretty rare.
Yeah, it is. It is. Especially the way these hunts are kind of set up now. You know, to get to the finals of these hunts, some of these guys, if they've won 3 casts, they're even taking a break in the 4th cast and resting their dog because they already know they're going to be in the finals. But again, with this points race, you're already there with a chance to get 2 NHBA points. Some of these guys are electing to go ahead and run their dog for those 2 points.
That's exactly right. So then Star, she goes back and to her kind of in her where Jason, Josh and Cody from Central West Virginia, Mannington, West Virginia has a hunt this year, the inaugural Steve Moore Classic. She gets a couple cast wins there, folks, and that brings her up to the 20. I got that right. Yeah, the 26 points. All right. And just a couple notes on Star, 'cause I tried to ask these guys a little bit about their dogs and kind of, what are these dogs? And I know our listeners would be interested to know this. So the pedigree on Storm or on Superstar, she's out of Hall of Fame, Grand Hunting Beagle champion, Heat 'em Up Hailstorm, and she's out of Grand Hunting Beagle champion Rogan's Buck, who was also, I believe Buck might have been a sectional winner as well, if I remember right, or top 8 maybe.
Yeah, he was in the top 8, I believe.
So, come from a line of winners there. Star hangs her hat. I asked, Jason, what do you think she hangs her hats on? And his comment was, she's going to get gone and go find me a rabbit. And you've ran with her, Trevor. I think that's probably pretty fair statement.
That is a fair statement and very consistent running the rabbit.
Yes. Yep. All right. So good luck, Jason, rest of the way. Number 1, but I'm going to tell you what, guys, at 26 points, he's got a couple dogs sneaking up on him right here. Let me scroll down, Trevor. This is something pretty unique, folks. So our number 2 and our number 3 dog, just right below Star, right on her, nipping at her heels, would be a dog at 24 points and a dog at 23 points. So we're going to kind of cover these together because, oddly enough, these 2 are owned by the same owners. You just don't see that all the time. You rarely ever see that. And these 2 dogs will be at number 2, Butler's Tank, and number 3, our number 3 dog right now is Butler's Lone Ranger with 23 points. So these guys are having a year. This is Nate Butler and his son, Brock Butler, from Homer, Michigan. And they've been getting after it, Trevor. This is pretty impressive.
Yes, it is. 47 combined points for the 2 dogs. That is racking up some cast wins.
That's right. And I know the people on podcasts keep hearing Brock's name a bunch. Well, this is why you've been hearing his name a lot, because this young man carries himself the right way, and he's our, I want to say, let me see, I have his wrote down somewhere. He's won the UKC Youth First Strike Race 4 years in a row, Trevor. So,
yep.
It's not unusual to hear his name in this top 8 because he was in the top 8 last year.
You'd think the kid was 23 years old.
I know. I think a lot of our listeners that maybe have never put this together would think this is, a guy that's, a grown adult that's got all these points. But him and his dad work together. Brock told me they've been about 50-50 handling these 2 male dogs. No really method to the madness. They kind of decide a game time decision who's going to hunt who. And I got some statistics here on these dogs. I also got their pedigree, which is kind of neat for me because I kind of showed you how old I am. I know some dogs way back in this pedigree here on one of these dogs. So Tank, let's see here. I did ask Brock some of his favorite wins, and he said to me he finished second in the champion division at Nationals in 2021 Ranger. Second in NHBA days this past year, actually, which we covered that on the podcast. And that was that really close final cast at NHBA days, guys, out in Magenica, Indiana. Let's see. Him and Ranger have took third 2 years in a row at the Michigan State Hunt. and Brock and Tank won the Indiana State Hunt this year in 2023. And I asked Brock, I said, Brock, when was the last time when was your first cast win? You know, because I know I want to say Brock, is Brock 16 now? Probably 15, 16?
I'm going to say 15.
Yeah, 15. I don't think he's got a driver's license. He said his first ever cast win was at the 2017 World Hunt. 2017 World Hunt, guys. So 6 years ago, you do the math on how old he was. So if you're wondering to yourself how fair is this format? Well, you had a kid at the World Championship that was a cast winner. And, you know, this past year at the World Hunt, we had youth that were in the top that made the semifinals. So
I want to say there were 2 youth in the semifinals of the World Hunt, I believe.
Exactly. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, you know, looking at where they got their points, obviously Tank with that NHBA days, that big weekend he had, Trevor, he got a lot of points at the Indiana State Hunt. He won that. You know, that was a super sectional. As Trevor explained, that's a double point event. And that NHBA days where he took second, because those were quad cast wins. And I don't remember exactly how many cast wins he had, but I want to say it might have been even 3. But I'm not for sure on that, Trevor.
I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess that he got. I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to guess he got 11 points at NHBA days.
Wow. So every year, guys, when it gets ready, people are talking about trying to win this points race, this sectional series points race. We always tell them, NHBA days, you want to get there. That's a big swing in the point totals. Definitely our biggest hunt of the year when it comes to sectional points.
You know, one thing I want to add about Ranger, and if Brock listens to this, he'll laugh, know exactly what I'm talking about. Ranger holds my personal record for the longest single bark ever heard in a cast. I'm not sure what was going on, but he held a yodel out for so long that Brock and I actually started walking towards the dog because we were afraid he was going to pass out from holding for so long. That was at Wayne's. Nope, that was at the Dale Pruney Classic, I believe. And it was the most impressive yodel that I have heard held out. I mean, it was probably a minute and a half, one single bark, and Brock didn't know whether to count that for 10 or 11 barks or one single bark or what.
I wish he'd looked right over at you and said, "Tree Ranger."
Yeah, yep.
That's a locate. Well, there you go, Brock. Maybe you got a dual-purpose dog here, bud. So we kind of left Ranger out a little bit, Trevor, but, you know, oh, by the way, he's leading the nation in cast wins. So we're kind of...
And I believe made Hall of Fame earlier this year.
He did. That's one of the things I have here, folks, is Ranger made the UKC Hall of Fame. And remember now, with the UKC Hall of Fame and the NHBA Hall of Fame are two separate Hall of Fames. We're going to cover the NHBA Hall of Fame here in a little bit. So he's got 21 cast wins already this year. And he was in the finals, and I'm talking about Ranger here, finals of the Terry Lemley Memorial in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. So he got a bunch of points there. And I got the ages here. So these dogs have been winning for a while, as we mentioned. So Tank is 6, and I believe Ranger is 7. Or no, I'm lying to you. Tank is 6, and Ranger just turned 5. Yeah, there we go. Tank will be 7 in September. And then in April, of course, as Trevor mentioned, Ranger made the UKC Hall of Fame. So I wanted to look at this pedigree here, just because I'm kind of a nerd on pedigrees, as Trevor already knows. So looking back here, let's just go ahead and take a look at Ranger first. So Ranger's off of Butler's Running Rebel and B&L's Sugar. Rebel is out of Swampland Tough Tina and Shenango Trigger, which that'll be a common name. People won't be surprised to hear that. Go back in here and look. You've got Tough Tina was off of Swampland Jesse and White River Tough Enough, who's also in the top 10 UKC reproducers. And then you'd go down to the bottom of Ranger. As I said, he's out of a dog called Sugar, B&L Sugar, who was out of Butler's Pistol Pete and let's see here, extra special bell bottoms. But that top dog was kind of neat, Trevor, because Pistol Pete goes back to Branko's Mr. Man and Butler's Fire. First time I ever met Nate Butler, stayed at his house. This is probably late 90s, early 2000s or something like that. And I got to see Fire in action. Butler's Fire. She was a lemon dog, lemon female. And I'm going to tell you something, you couldn't beat her in those pine trees. She was a heck of a dog. That would be Ranger's grandma. Yeah, great grandmother. So that was kind of neat. When I seen that, Brock sent me that pedigree. I'm like, oh shoot, I know that dog. And then let's take a look at Tank here, folks. And these are two good looking dogs too, Trevor. If folks want to see some pictures of these dogs, you can go on the UKC Biggle the Field Facebook page and look at some of the results, or the NHBA page for that matter. Butler's Tank is actually directly out of Trigger, Shenango Trigger, who's Shenango World Champion Shenango star, AMCA Snoopy. Snoopy goes back, folks, to Haunted Hill Shaker on top, and then Striker Dogs on bottom. So some of our folks, that's probably pretty common breeding to some of our listeners. On bottom, Black Kate Fire is the mom. And again, Butler's Pistol Pete. And this dog here is actually directly out of Fire. So pretty cool to see Nate. He's been maintaining this bloodline for a long time. And Fire is actually out of a dog, Trevor, called Klingeman's Mick, who was owned by Kyle Klingeman. And that dog back in the 90s, early 2000s, I want to say he was a finalist at the World Hunt maybe one time. Placed at a lot of big hunts. Klingeman's Mick, that's an old throwback. All right, Trevor, let's go down here to our number 4 dog. Number 4 dog, guys, is a name, another common name. You probably heard this name before. Stacy's Mountain Outlaw Reba, owned by Jeff Stacy. Jeff reached back out to me, give me some information on her. Is this one of the dogs? Have you seen this dog here, Trevor?
Yeah, I've ran with her one time.
Yeah, he says she's got a lot of talent. So he's really happy with how she's coming along. 3-year-old female. Jeff has been the handler on this dog. Points earned in Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. So she's won cast in 5 states, Trevor.
Yeah. One thing about Jeff, if he has a dog at a hunt, it's probably ready to be in a hunt.
It's in shape and it's ready to go, right?
Yep, that's right.
Jeff's been around a long time, guys. And let's see here. Right. Reba, I wanted to see this pedigree. I got it here. This dog goes back to a dog called State Mountain Outlaw Shorty that him and his dad Coy had. That was a world finalist in 2001 or 2, Trevor. But I got the pedigree here. So Reba, her sire is Stacy's Mountain Outlaw Wildman. Dam is Stacy's Mountain Outlaw Red Wine. Jeff, let's see, Tim Profit owned Red Wine. Jeff and Coy.
I know that it's showing Tim Profit on there. I know that Jeff owned wine for I believe from a puppy maybe. I think Wine, Diesel, maybe the Rose dog that Jeff ran. I think all those dogs were kind of being ran at the same time.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look at these dogs here. I want to look at Wild Man. Wild Man is out of Hotchkiss, Black Diamond, Triple Jacks. His mother is Hurricane Whitey Almighty. So there's some Branko there on top, Trevor. The Red Wine dog was out of Lefevre's Chain Rock Big Rowdy. Never seen that dog. Heard that was a heck of a dog. And then the mother was Stacy's Mountain Outlaw Last Chance on the bottom of the mother there. I want to look back a little deeper just because I like to give our listeners a little bit more information. So as I said on top there, that's some older Branko breeding. And on the bottom, that goes back on that third generation. You've got Abshire's Leave the Road Junie. And then, as I said earlier, I knew that Stacy's Outlaw Shorty was back there. I was fairly certain of that, and there he is far back. And he's also an NHBA Hall of Fame dog, I'm pretty sure, Trevor.
Shorty?
Yeah.
I don't think he is right now, but I believe he will be shortly.
Okay.
We'll get into that.
Good deal. All right. So good luck to Jeff. Him and Reba sitting there. What was their point value? Get that pulled back up. Reba sitting there, 21 points. So she's in the top 4. Those top 4 dogs, guys, get a little bit more on the prize package, a little bit more meat on the bone for them. And Jeff's sitting just back 5 points from winning this thing. So let's just go ahead and mention, Trevor, that event at the Limley. You don't see this all the time, but I'm looking at this list right now, and I know that in this top 15, there was like 11 of those dogs at that hunt. So I'm going to go on a limb and say a bunch of guys are coming for this. They're trying to win this thing.
Yeah, everybody plays it off like they're not, but the root of all travels lead back to this points race at some point in time here.
Try to be sly like a fox, huh?
Yeah,
dumb like a fox. Yeah. Yeah. So good luck, Jeff. Hope you're going to continue to get out there with you and Reba, and good luck to you the rest of the way. All right, a number 5 dog, and this is a dog I haven't seen run, Trevor. Maybe you have. Triple H Big Blue Ruger. Ruger's owned by Brandon and Stephanie Hensley from Indiana. This dog here handled, let's see. Brandon was a handler on this dog for most of the events. He wanted me to mention Ethan Stafford hunted him also at the Western Maryland State Hunt. This dog shows cast wins in Michigan, Eliminator in West Virginia, Indiana State, top 16 NHBA days, Lower Michigan Beagle Club, and of course the Western Maryland State Hunt, and also the Terry Limley. So he's got wins in 4 or 5 states too, Trevor. That's pretty good.
People are hitting the road early, keeping them. They're giving their dogs a chance, anyways.
That's right, getting out there. I talked to Brandon a little bit, and he shared with me, that he got off to a great start. He really likes this dog a lot. And all of a sudden the dog kind of hit a wall, and he's been dealing with Lyme's disease, Trevor. And anybody's been in Beagles can attest to fighting this awful disease with our dogs or ourselves. I actually had a bout with a tick bite myself. And we know how debilitating that can be for dogs. So Brandon's, planning on still having Ruger out there, but they're trying to get him healthy, Trevor.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do.
It really is. It really is. It just seems like a battle we fight on. I'd like to at some point have on the podcast possibly having a veterinarian expert to kind of talk to us a little bit. I had some suggestions, Trevor, on the podcast page there a while back. Some of our listeners sent me some feedback that they'd like to hear an expert talk about what we can do with Lyme's, talk about some of these new tick diseases that are, well, they're not new, but we're starting to hear more about, that are really hard to treat. So that's something maybe we can look at, folks. What's that?
Worst thing, you think you get them healed up, and it flares up again.
I know, man. We got one right now that's fighting anaplasmosis, which to my knowledge is no prevention medicine for, which is, the vet described it as Lyme's disease on steroids. So these daggone ticks, man, it's just something else. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Maybe I can find somebody that would come on and help us and give us a good education on what we can do and how that stuff works. So really hoping, Brandon and Stephanie, that Ruger heals up for you and has a great fall. I asked Brandon, folks, what he liked best about Ruger, and he flat told me this is tough. He gives me 100%. Big heart, and I hope he, dog fighting Lyme, still winning cast. He must have a pretty big heart. So, all right. Let's take a look at this pedigree here. Some of you might recognize some of these names. So we've got some Branko in here, some Reggie. I'll just go ahead through it. So the sire is Blue Missile. Casey's Blue Missile. Binkley's Show Me Molly. And that Molly dog's out of a pretty well-known name. Chimney Rock's Kentucky Lucky. And then on the top, Adirondack Jack's Blue, which is a Doggo Valley Bullet dog. I've seen some of those dogs. Solid dogs. Awful Ballin' dogs on the bottom. 2 shots of Reggie there. And that top, that Branko's Missile is a dog directly from Branko that goes all the way back through Branko on the top there. So guys, that's what the pedigree looks like on Ruger. So good luck, Brandon. You're sitting at 5, buddy, which I know you already knew that. But you're just 6 points out of first. I'm sure you will be at that Michigan event, Brandon being from Indiana, guys. So good luck to you. Maybe we'll see you there. All right, moving right along, Trevor. And here we got a dog sitting 6th, and that dog is sitting 6th with 20 points. So this dog here is tied with Ruger, just back 6 points. And this is D'Agostino's Misty. This dog's done quite a bit of winning this, especially early. This dog was shown up on the bench quite a bit on the winner's circle.
Yeah, Ralphie put some training into this one.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. I ran with this dog as a puppy, I want to say, last year. And even as a puppy, I was pretty impressed with her. Had good hunt, good control, just an all-around solid, really solid female. So D'Agostino's Missy is owned by Jason McMillan from Central West Virginia. Good friend of mine. Jason's just right down the road here from where I live. He took this dog to, let's see, we got Waynesburg, Gloucester, Ohio. He had a big weekend in that Super Sex, Trevor. NHBA days, Owen D'Agostine handled this dog for Jason. And then Jason Vandergrift jumped in NHBA days and won a round with her. So she had a couple different handlers at NHBA days. And she ends up 3rd overall at that Big 5 event, that NHBA days event. And then she's back at the Limley with another cast win. So there you go, guys. She's got wins in multiple states. Nice little female. As I said, I've seen her go. Let's go down here. And I've known Jason for a long time, Trevor. He's one of the good guys, you know, really good guy to hunt with. Let's take a look at this pedigree. All right, guys. Misty is out of world champion D'Agostino's Sir Mongo. Common name for you. The mother is D'Agostino's Time to Say Grace. So this is a Mongo Grace female. Got a 2022 birthday. So she'll be coming up on, let's see. Oh, that's a different litter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. Litter. I would say that's the next litter, I think.
Yeah, I just have the pedigree that, I appreciate those guys sending me this information. So real quick, guys, we'll just take a look at this. Mongo is out of D'Agostino's Big Brutus Balls, who was a national winner. Mead's Hard Pumping Winnie, who was a national winner, which some common names there for everybody. On top, you know, that stuff goes back to Owen Arnold stuff on one side and Maple Lane Kennel on the other. And I want to say Maple Lane was some of Art Beamer's older stuff, if I remember correct. And then on bottom, you'll go back. There's a dog I seen run a couple times way back, called Outback Gunner. So Hard Pumping Winnie would be a double half brother, half sister cross on Outback Gunner. Then let's look at Misty's bottom side. She's a dual grand. Her mommy, D'Agostino's Time to Say Grace. Did you ever see Grace run, Trevor?
Oh yeah, a lot.
I heard she was a pretty nice dog. I never saw her.
She was a very nice dog. Very nice dog. She actually, I know she placed second at nationals, in the champion division one year.
Gotcha. Yeah, I knew she had done some winning. and she's doing some producing. So let's look at this pedigree on that bottom side. So Grace is out of a dog called Brush Axe's Hurry Up Slugger, who I did see that dog. He was a heck of a dog. He really was, owned by Jared Waybright. On bottom, D'Agostino's Homemade Shine, which is out of that Brutus dog once again. And he's Fallgrass Little Lacy on bottom. So he's Chip on bottom, Arnold's Little Chip on bottom. And then that Slugger dog was out of a very popular cross that did a lot of winning back in the day, which was Hicks Prince Elliott times Hurry Up Lady, world champion Hurry Up Lady. So this dog got a lot of good stuff in it. Give our listeners a little insight into her pedigree as well. So good luck to Jason. I think he's intended on hitting them pretty hard. So
this is I don't know. This is the second, at least the second. Maybe that cross has been made maybe 3 times now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the Mongo Grace cross seems to be a good one. Her sister Breeze was a finalist at Nationals, top 10 at the world. And I believe that's the same cross, I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say 100%. But, so good luck to Jason and Misty. All right. Our next dog here, Trevor, with, 19 points in our look at this top 10 is Deep River Bad Company. And she calls him Cooper. I've meant to ask her what's the deal with the Cooper. I don't know how you get Cooper out of Bad Company. But she calls him Cooper. Again, this dog just down 7 points to the first place dog and owned by Kristen Bundy in North Carolina. I haven't seen this dog yet, Trevor. Heard he's pretty nice. Have you got to see this one run?
Yeah, he is nice. Kristen's been, she was running, I believe, a littermate sister. And then somebody took over handling duties on that, and Kristen started handling Cooper, and Cooper started winning, and I think that's where Kristen's going to stay here for a bit. Yeah.
And those of you that know Kristen know that she's a really good person to hunt with. I always enjoyed drawing out with Kristen. She's fair. She's a good judge, and she puts time in her dogs. I don't see her showing up with fat dogs, Trevor. She runs these dogs most of the time in them. So, and a couple things I've noticed about every year, Trevor, is, you can pretty much count on a couple things. One, the sun's going to rise in the east, and Kristen Bundy's going to be a player in the top 8 of the sectional race. That seems to be pretty.
That's right.
That seems to be pretty common. Her in the top 8.
And you don't want to draw her in the summertime because she's a teacher, and she gets to run dogs more now than she does any other time of the year.
She's got an advantage. There you go. All right, so let's take a look at Cooper here, guys. He's Stacy's Mountain Outlaw Diesel, some of Jeff Stacy's breeding. And then on bottom is her Blue Flame dog, Deep River Firewater Blue Flame. And now that's the one, Trevor, that was the first UKC Hall of Fame. Is that right?
That is correct. Yep.
So she's a UKC Hall of Fame dog. Go back into that second generation for you guys. On top is Jeff Stacy's breeding, as I mentioned, Stacy's Mountain Outlaw Bumpin' TKO times Stacy's Mountain Outlaw Tipper. And then on bottom was the Wildman dog I mentioned a little bit ago that Jeff's Reba dog was out of. So Flame's also, Cooper's granddaddy would be Wildman times Firewater Sassy. So there's a little bit of breeding on Cooper. He's got his points. He's starting out Virginia State Hunt, double cast winner overall, and he was also the Virginia State champion this year. Had a win in NHBA days, then went on to some other sectionals, picked up some points. He doubled up at Nationals, made the top 16. He's had cast wins, and he might be on top as far as this goes. He's had cast wins in 6 states this year. So he'll be 3 in October, still a dog not quite in his prime yet. And Kristen said she's handled him in all of his casts, and she's very proud that he was born and raised right there at her house. And you and I have talked about that too, Trevor. That always makes it a little more special, doesn't it?
Yep, it does. And one thing I want to add on Cooper, we don't want to miss an opportunity to mention Josie Holmes, who has ran diesel most of his life, and that is a past NHBA Youth Series overall winner.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know that. Glad you threw that. Glad you had that on it. Glad you threw that in there. Pretty neat stuff. All right. So good luck to Kristen. You're right there. I know I don't need to tell you this because I'm sure you're going to hit it, but you're right there and close to the striking distance to winning this thing. So good luck to you, Kristen and Cooper. Our next dog, our number 7 here, Trevor, we've got a name people might have sprung onto the scene here early in the year. Dog maybe people didn't know until that point. Veltkamp and McCombs dude. This dog, Trevor, he's our NHBA Days winner. I think you saw him as well.
Yep. Everybody that mentioned anything about the dog, every one of them said he was a very solid dog.
Yeah, I talked to Doug a good bit. You guys can hear Doug's interview on the podcast there a couple episodes ago, where we talked about his big win in HBA Days. One thing you can count on talking to Doug is dude's going to go hunting. He's a hard hunting, hard going type dog is the way he put it to me. And he's a rabbit dog day in and day out. He's 7 years old now, so he's got some age on him. He's off Thunderview's Cash or Check and Dave's Michie. And half owner, of course, he's partners with Dave Van Kelp or Veltkamp, on this dog. And he wanted me to mention, that how much Dave helps him run the dogs and those kind of things. He was Indiana State Hunt 2-cast wins, Michigan State Hunt 2-cast wins, and of course that NHBA Days, that NHBA Days event overall winner, which is a big point total for him. So,
I believe he was a dog that racked up all 12 available points.
Yeah. So he's sitting there right now. Half his points are better, or from over half his points are from that event. So, okay. Moving right along, number 8 dog here, guys. A name that any of our regulars would recognize as the owner. This number 8 dog is DT Barton Sarah, owned by Eric Yant. Eric Yant, Swamp Masters Kennel, him and his dad in Lower Michigan. You heard that name before. Eric's a great guy. I always enjoy hunting with Eric. And him and his dad put time in dogs, I can tell you that. They're one of those guys, when you see them at a hunt, that dog it ain't fat, and it's ready to go. So, a little bit about Sarah. I appreciate Eric getting me some information on her. Sarah's out of Swamp Masters Trump, which was a top 8 dog last year. Eric's done some winning with that dog. And he's out of Swamp Masters Barton's Gertie. And I didn't realize it, but Sarah's just now 2 years old, so she's a fairly young dog. Her run any yet, Trevor?
I have not.
Yeah, I haven't either myself. Heard she's pretty nice, and I wouldn't. If Eric's got a dog, it's capable of winning her. He wouldn't have it on the end of his lead. I can promise you that. So I've known him and his dad over 20 years, and they're always a fierce competitor, but they're also fair competitors as well. So looking at Sarah here, guys, she got 3 cast wins in the Indiana State Hunt. She doubled up at Gloucester, Ohio. She got a cast win to Michigan State Hunt, and then Nationals. She got a cast win there. 2 cast wins sectional in Southford. Cast win at the West Virginia State Hunt, and that's the ones that Eric highlighted for me there. Eric's handled her in all of her wins, guys. And I asked him, what do you think her best attributes are? And he said she's an excellent jump dog, especially for her age. It's a pretty, fairly young dog here. And he says he's working right now to working on her control and getting her run in for this fall. So don't be surprised to see Eric making a little run here this fall, guys. He's right there in striking distance as well. So good luck to Eric and Sarah. You're right there. And you're going to be there in the end.
That's another dog, I believe, that had planned on going to the Waynesburg hunt
super or double point hunt. I don't think he ended up making it. I believe she was in heat. So there's another dog that would have been there.
Yeah, I did not know that. I knew she wasn't there, but yeah, the females, that's part of it. You know, I'm a female. I like to have females myself, and you just kind of got to accept that when it happens. But it can definitely, it's definitely screw you over in a points race. That's for sure. Let's look here, guys. So good luck, Eric and Sarah. We're going to move on to number 9. These next couple of dogs are right there, guys, within striking distance to make the top 8. Get my points here. Right. So our next 2 dogs are tied at 16 apiece at 9 and 10. So again, like I said early in the show here, that's nothing from first to let alone 8th. I mean, they're just right there at tied, 2 points away from 8th, but they're only they're looking at a 10-point difference to first, which that can be made up. So let's take a look. This 9th place dog is Heat 'em Up Jake, owned by Matt McAllister and Daniel Stronesider. Matt handled this dog at all wins except the East Eliminator. So Jake gets cast wins at the East Eliminator, Nationals, West Virginia State Hunt, Steve Moore Classic, the Terry Lemley Memorial, and NHBA Days. I talked to Matt a little bit. He gave me some information here where the points come from. Kicking around, making a run. Good luck to you guys. But the pedigree on Jake, he is actually a littermate sister to the Heat 'em Up Superstar dog that we said the first place dog here, which obviously same pedigree. Rogan's Buck is the sire. Jake's Dam is Hall of Fame Heat 'em Up Hailstorm. So that would be Heat 'em Up Jake. Good luck to Matt and Dan down the stretch here. They made a run last year, won a lot of casts. So wish you guys luck here down the second half of the season. All right. Our 10th place dog, Trevor, is going to be Heat 'em Up Gus Gus, Josh Ware, Cody Rucker. This dog is a 2-year-old. I guess I should have backed. Jake was a 3-year-old before there. I never mentioned that. Gus is a 2-year-old. Gus was your national champion this year in the champion division at the UKC Nationals. Braden Neely is a handler on that dog, as well as Cody Rucker. Those two have handled that dog for his points. He got 6 points at the Steve Moore Classic, so he won 3 out of 4 there. And then he was a double cast winner at the Lemley. So there's your top 10, Trevor. And that is a tight race, man.
Yeah, and I want to go down and just name these dogs, clear down to the dogs that have 10 points, because even the dogs sitting with 10 points, any of these dogs hit a slump or a wall of any kind. A dog sitting with 10 points right now can 2 good weekends. They can be up there knocking on the door for the lead or definitely in the top 8. So we covered down to the dogs that had 16. JJ Emerald Blue has 15. Nothing Fancy Lunatic 14. D'Agostino's Cold Winter Breeze 13. Rock Bottom Big Mac 13. Chuck Shenango Charlie 12. Chuck's Half Fast Winnie 12. America's Stylish Trump 12. Heat 'em Up Rowdy Reputation 12. McCombs I'm Right You're Wrong 12. White Trash Scout 12. Jackson Creek Fancy 12. CNR's There Goes Pedro 12. Butler's Trooper, another Butler dog, 11. Six Pack Woody 11. Beamer Butter 10. McCombs Camps May 10. Swamp Masters Trump 10. Heat 'em Up Black Widow 10. And No Handle Violent Violet 10. All of those dogs are very well within striking range, and look, we could go on below that. This is everything. Every dog is within striking distance right now.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to think back to last year, and it was kind of jumbled up there down the stretch at 8th, but I don't remember it being just this tight, so deep through there. I think that's pretty cool, Trevor.
No, not first through 8th. I know 2 years ago it came down to the very last NHBA sectional of the year to determine who was going to be the last 8th place dog in. Last year, I want to say maybe 2 weekends prior to the last sectional, maybe it was decided. I mean, these have come down to the wire the last couple years to be the last dog in that top 8.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how it unfolds. The pressure will be mounting this fall. As we previewed, I guess we should probably look at that schedule before we get into this Hall of Fame segment, Trevor. Looking at this, I got this point rate, this sectional schedule pulled up here in front of me. So all the dogs Trevor mentioned, the next event I see here, Trevor, is August 5th and 6th, Homer, Michigan Super Sectional. So that's a double point event, and they usually have 4 rounds there, if I remember right. Is that right, Trevor?
That's correct.
So there's 8 points total right there. We'll just come on down the list here, and we'll put a little plug in for these sectionals, Trevor. We'll take a minute here. August 19th, guys, you got Magenica Beagle Club, the youth hunt there. You've got August 19th in Missouri at Ozark County Beagle Club, a single point event. 26th and 27th of August, you've got Kirby, PA, the Del Prunty Classic, single point. September 2nd and 3rd, Maryland Beagle Association, single point. And on the same weekend, you have Lick Skillet Southern Classic in Virginia, and that's a double point event, actually. Waynesburg, single point, September 2nd. And then a big one. We got a big one right here. This is a big point total here. The September 8th and 10th is the Don McVeigh Senior Memorial event, Trevor. And that hunt there is worth how many? You said it a minute ago.
They can get 10 points.
So
if it is ran as the same format as last year, you could run the same dog once on Thursday, twice on Friday, twice on Saturday. All of those rounds double points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty significant. I'm going to go on a limb and say there will be a lot of this sectional getting sorted out that weekend, this sectional race.
I would say there's a very good possibility.
Mm-hmm. September 16, 17, we're back at Magenica Super Sectional. Double points. So that's another big one back at Magenica. Magenica's going to play a big role here, Trevor, down the stretch, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is good for the clubs. This is going to draw these clubs some extra entries.
Yep, absolutely, especially the way these guys are traveling. September 23, Holstein River Memorial Hunt, Virginia. The 30th and October 1st, Upshur County Beagle Club. And then you got the World Hunt, and I'll just stop there for the World Hunt, October 6th and 8th at Waynesburg, which is another huge point event. Is the World Hunt worth 10, Trevor?
Yes, it will depend on the number of rounds at the World Hunt. If the World Hunt grows enough that there's an extra round, that's something we'll have to discuss. But right now the max is 10 right now.
That's right. And you go over 256, you got that extra round in there. It's just the way it works out. And I'm hearing this may be the biggest World Hunt ever. So if that happens, that will be new ground that we'll have to figure out. But all right. So before we move on, guys, as I went through this list, I want everybody to remember, if you heard me talking about these events, please look under the UKC upcoming events section to see that these events were confirmed. So as I went through there, this is a master list. The clubs still have to confirm these events with the United Kennel Club. And I want to just make sure that that's noted. So don't just go off of this list I just gave you. Make sure you go and you make sure that event is confirmed before you head out. So
yeah, I'll add to that. I mean, few of us help these clubs get these scheduled. This is all done at the beginning of the year because no state can have over 8 sectionals per state. So we compile this list as early in the year as possible. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's slide down here. Let's see here, Trevor. I want to make sure this is pretty cool to me and something I'm going to follow this fall. Well, let's do our show. Let's talk about these two show dogs. Let's just mention them real quick before we get into these youth race. So right now our current show standings for your NHBA show sectional race in the show is Burke's Little Miss Molly with 10 points, Rebel Red Heidi with 4, and then Stacy's Mountain Law Casper's tied with 4. So there's your 3 show dogs on the bench that are, I shouldn't say show dogs, they're dual purpose dogs, they hunt as well, but that's your show race at the moment, guys. If you're interested in going to that, those dogs that enter the bench also get sectional points towards our show race. So we have a point race for that as well. But one thing I'm real interested in, and I noticed this when I was preparing, Trevor, is Brock Butler in the NHBA youth points race. He's been kind of hard to beat. Trevor.
He has. This is he's got some stiff competition this year.
Yeah, so guys, I'm looking at this. This is our NHBA youth points race, sponsored totally and brought to you by our sponsor, Purina Pro Plan Dog Food. So we want to thank them for all they do for this youth program. Some fantastic prizes that are possible because of them. And this year-long points race, folks, tracks the participation and the winning that the youth under 18 years old does at all sectional events. And normally we're used to saying Brock Butler's name first because he has won this thing. Well, I know he won it the last 2 years, right, Trevor?
Yeah.
So he's
maybe 3. I can remember the World Hunt when it was in Missouri. Him and Braden, I believe, Braden Weaver going back and forth. So it might be more than 2 years.
You might be right now that you say that. Well, he's sitting there this year, folks, with 112 youth points. And again, Brock Butler from the Homer, Michigan area. And he's got somebody nipping on his heels here. And this is another fine young man who I've gotten a chance to know and hunt with myself. This is Emmett Whipke. Emmett Whipke's sitting at 103 points. He's from Western Pennsylvania. And, you know, Trevor, he's sitting here down. This is a manageable number. He may be able to make a run here on Brock.
Yeah, and from what I've seen and what I've heard, I'd say he's going to be at the hunts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe you're right. Everywhere I go, I see his mom and his dad, Charles. These are good people. I really enjoy getting to know them, and just a great addition to the sport. And one thing you know about Emmett is he handles himself, Trevor, if you've ever hunted with him, he handles himself like a guy that, and so does Brock, you know, like a guy that's been doing this 25 years. Very humble out there, and he takes what he earned. You know, I really enjoy hunting with him. All right, so our third is Eli Watson. Eli has been competing hard for a couple of years. He's always in the top handful of dogs in this youth race. Also, let's see, Achilles Morrison with 72 points. These are 2 excellent young men as well. Hunted with both of them. Good, really good kids. And then right on down the list is Izzy Note with 50. She was actually the Eliminator youth winner this year, if I remember correctly. Julia Wild at 47. Rain Kantonka at 32. Isaac Nicely at 30. Jake Starrett at 23. Carrie Joe Hodgkin at 22. Braxton Owens at 21. Courtney Jarrett at 20. Bentley Little at 17. So congratulations to all these youth here at the halfway point of this points race. And good luck down the stretch. And we'll just see if anybody can catch Brock. It's going to be fun to watch that, and I'm going to be really looking forward to seeing how that thing shakes out.
Yeah, I believe we've got 31 youth that have accumulated points this year.
Wow, guys! If I could stand up and clap, I would right there. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, Trevor, but I want to give a shout out to JJ Kennels here and those. If you heard me mention Eli and Izzy and Achilles, JJ Kennels, some really good people, Joe Merritt and company, and they they haul these kids to hunts, and I think that needs to be commended, and I want to mention that here this evening on the podcast.
Yeah, they haul them to a lot, and they don't even hunt themselves. They go with the kids quite frequently.
Pretty selfless act, and that's what'll ensure that this sport survives, and that's what it's all about. So, big shout out to JJ Kennels. Well, Trevor, we're moving right along here, man, and we're going to talk about something now, folks, that this topic, Trevor's come up a lot over the years, and that is the NHBA Hall of Fame. And we've had a voting procedure for since its inception. So over the last 23 years, it's been a voting process for your Hall of Fame hound, Hall of Fame bigler, your Hall of Fame member. And the NHBA decided to put out a proposal, and the membership responded, Trevor, and they liked it. So I'm going to let you just tell us a little bit about what was behind the scenes in the NHBA officers and board that wanted to propose this to the membership. And I want to stress that, too. This was not something that three people sat in a room and said, hey, let's change this. Like, this was put out to the members, and it was voted on. So I'm going to let you talk about that, Trevor, and just kind of get us up to speed on how this thing unfolded.
Yeah, this was it was actually approved by the membership. I don't know the percentage, but I'm quite certain we counted less than 5 votes against.
Wow.
So
It passed very, very overwhelmingly with the membership. So in years past, there was no criteria. There was a criteria, but it was kind of like just the age of the dog had to be a certain age. Had to have reproduced one hunting beagle champion, I believe. Wasn't much criteria. It was basically just vote for whatever dog was nominated to put in, and there were years. I'll just say it. I don't know how else to say it other than bluntly. There were some years that more deserving dogs did not get in, and a less deserving dog did get in, with the way that it was set up in the past, and that may be a little blunt to put it, but that was the reason that we kind of saw that, hey, it needed to change. The dog themselves needed to earn it.
And Trevor, let me jump in there real quick. And Trevor and I were kind of preparing for this. We wanted to be transparent with everybody and the members as they listen to this. And Trevor's right. I mean, I know some people hear that and think, well, that was pretty blunt. But it's the truth. And I also wanted to mention, Trevor, in no way, shape, or form are we trying to take away from dogs that are already in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the vast,
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, the vast majority of the dogs, and I mean vast majority, that are in the NHBA Hall of Fame, the membership voted on those dogs based on the fact they thought they were deserving dogs that had been very successful in this format throughout their career. So I want to just, as we go through this today, guys, when you hear me and Trevor talking, please don't think that we're saying, oh, well, that dog there, they were voted in. We're not saying that at all. So, we want to honor all the dogs that have made the NHBA Hall of Fame in the last 23 years. So in no way are we, trying to take away from those dogs. To me, Trevor, this is just about improving, right? It's just saying, hey, as an organization, we're trying to improve the format here.
Yeah, we just we tried to keep it simple. A dog either earns it or they haven't earned it yet. That doesn't mean they won't the next year or the next hunt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we've laid out criteria that we feel is very achievable, very attainable, but is difficult to attain. And we believe that was what any Hall of Fame should be about.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was a fine line there. It's like you want it to be a challenge, and you want it to be the hounds that get in there accomplish something in their career. But at the same time, you want it to be attainable and something people can really strive for. To me, I think to be in any Hall of Fame is a huge accomplishment, and I take a lot of pride in this NHBA Hall of Fame. I think it's I think it's a neat deal. And I think the way that we've set it up here, Trevor, is the right way. So, you know, as we move on here and telling you a little bit about how this thing came about, and I'm just going to kind of give a little macro level explanation here, Trevor, and then I'll let you kind of help me with the details as we work through this thing. So instead of the voting, as you guys have probably figured out, and you can see a copy of this on the NHBA page's Facebook page. And if you want a hard copy, I'd be happy to email it to you so you can look at it. Or you can just go on there and look at it, whichever suits you best. So this is going to work in a very, to me, it's very common sense. Dogs that go win are going to get points if they win in your bigger hunts, your state hunts, your big fives. They're going to get Hall of Fame points. If they produce dogs that win in those big hunts, state hunts, big five hunts, they're going to get Hall of Fame points. If they earn titles, Hunting Bingo Champion, Grand Hunting Bingo Champion, Grand Show Champion, you're going to get points. If you're a member, now we'll hit on this again here in a minute, Trevor, but if you're a member for 3 years, I believe you get that your hound will actually have a couple points added to it.
Gold member, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a gold member, we'll get the details on that in a second when I get down through there. But so that's kind of looking at it kind of from a broad view, and dogs will earn these points, and it'll be up to the owner to put them in. So that's just I'm going to go ahead and read down through here, Trevor, and then you can kind of help me out with the details. So the NHBA will receive nominations along with proof of the hound's wins to verify that each hound has met the criteria. So what does that mean? So the NHBA will be establishing a Hall of Fame committee, folks. And this Hall of Fame committee, Trevor, I believe will look at these nominations and verify the point totals we're getting ready to talk about. Is that right?
That is correct. We're going to leave it up to the owners of the hounds that nominate. Basically, nominate is still the word. Basically, we're going to require the owners to submit proof to us, to the Hall of Fame committee, because look, it's impossible for us to track every dog.
Sure.
That's close. It's impossible for us to go do all the research. We're going to leave that. We're going to leave that on the owners to do it, to submit to us. Whether that is on UKC's official webpage, the UKC message boards, an official. UKC now has the Facebook page, the American Beagler clippings out of the magazines, something like that. We can't accept somebody that put Old Joe won his 97th cast on Facebook. That's not something that we can accept. But if it's something official from UKC, by all means, we will accept it.
Right. And there'll be some, that'll be a little bit tricky. We're not, like I said, we're going to be transparent, with you on this segment, guys. We know that if you're trying to find the points for a dog from 2007, it's going to be tough. And, Trevor gave you some good resources there to try to find proof of that. I would think, old hunt reports, if you can contact club officials of those hunts. And, I know you can do points checks on dogs at UKC to get some information that way. So, going forward, I think, Trevor, it's going to be pretty easy for dogs currently.
Yeah, it's going to be a little more difficult for dogs in the past, and we knew that, but we're hoping that, as you go way back, the dogs that we're deserving are hopefully already in the Hall of Fame.
Right. That's right. So let's just talk here, guys, some more requirements. So, the requirements will be up to December 31st of that year. So a dog will need the amount of Hall of Fame points, for that up to that 31st of December. Like Trevor said, the owner will nominate these hounds. They were once approved and inducted into the Hall of Fame. These owners will receive an embroidered Hall of Fame jacket from the NHBA. And I don't know about you, Trevor, but I take a tremendous amount of pride in those Hall of Fame, that Hall of Fame induction. it means a lot to me, and I know it does to you as well.
Absolutely.
There's no limit on the number. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to touch on. We also understand, maybe the first couple years there may be, we may get 5 or 6 dogs that go in. We may go a couple years and no dogs have went in. And we had discussed that before we put this proposal out there. And we think that's okay. Once a dog earns it, that they're still going to get it.
Yeah, I can think of years where if this system was in place in years past, there might have been 2, 3, 4 dogs. And then I can think of years that maybe the year after those 4 dogs went in, there might have been no dogs go in. So I love it, Trevor, because it's a merit-based system. It's once you meet the criteria, the dog earned it. It's just cut and dry, very fair, in my opinion, on how this is going to work. It's written here, guys, that there's no limit, as Trevor said, how many can go in. A hound does not need to be alive to be inducted into the NHBA Hall of Fame. That's where we get into trying to research those dogs from the past that may not be in. The owner of the hound must be an NHBA member, currently in good standing for 3 consecutive years at the time of nomination. So when you go to nominate that dog, in order to be eligible, the owner of that hound must be a member of the NHBA. Is that correct?
For 3 consecutive years, and the reasoning behind that is, we didn't NHBA. Like I said, it's all volunteers. We're giving everything back to the hunter. We didn't want somebody saying, "Oh, my dog finally made it, pay their dues 1 year, get a $175 jacket, and off they go. We never see them again." So
right. All right. Anything else you can think of before we get into the meat and potatoes here?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So let's talk about the hounds first, Trevor. Let's start there. So there are 3 paths that a hound can take to be inducted into the NHBA Hall of Fame. There's 3 different ways this can be done. It can be done through Competition Hall of Fame, which is simply what that dog wins. It can be done as a reproducer, which is what it says. It's the pups out of that dog, what they win. And then the third path is the combination hound. And that is where we take both how much that dog won and how much that dog reproduced, and we put it together. So that's in a nutshell, how that's going to work. And we're going to get into the details now. So on that first hound, Trevor, the way I'm reading this is that dog is going to need to be in the competition to go in as a Competition Hall of Fame dog. You're going to need 45 Hall of Fame points. 45 points in the field and on the bench. You could, we'll get into that in a minute. Where these points? We're going to get there in a minute, guys. And this hound will go in as a Competition Hall of Fame. To qualify for this designation, a hound must be a Grand Hunting Beagle champion. And honestly, I don't know how a dog could get that many Hall of Fame points without being a Grand by that point, but that is what is listed under that one, Trevor.
Yep.
All right.
That one there should pretty well explain itself.
Yeah, we'll get to those. To our people listening right now, we're going to get to those where these points at in a second. Number 2 is that Hall of Fame reproducing hound. Again, it's still 45 points, but it's half the value. So to go in as a Hall of Fame reproducing hound, it's the same points, same hunts, but you're going to need twice the amount of wins, we'll call it. So you only get 50% of the value, and you'll see what I mean by that in a second. So if a hunt, to win the world hunt, if that's worth 12, you only would get 6 if the dog produced that, if that makes sense. To qualify, a hound must have produced at least 2 Grand Hunting Beagle champions. And anywhere you hear me misspeak, Trevor, just jump in here and help me out. So
I think the best way to explain that one is guys, if you have a male, female that you believe might qualify for this, go back to the top one, points earned in the field, add up all their pups. If they have reproduced 2 Grand Hunting Beagle champions and at least 90 points combined between all their pups in the field, they qualify for this.
That's right. That is a good way of looking at it. So you would need 90 of those points to make the reproducer. Okay. Now, the combination hound, and I actually played around with all three of these today, Trevor, just dogs of the past that I knew of, and just seeing how many points they fit in. And I found this all three of these to be pretty. I know the NHBA vetted this and did the same thing, but I think this 45 points I think was a good number. The combination Hall of Fame, guys, is going to be 65 points. And the combination is just what it sounds. To go into the combination Hall of Fame, you're using what the dog produced and what the dog won. Hence the reason that there's more points involved in that. And don't forget the 50% value on the reproducing side. To qualify for designation, a hound must themselves be a grand and have produced grands. Anything you can think of on that one, Trevor?
Yeah, we just the reason for that is if you go back and to kind of fill everybody in on how we got to this point, we didn't just grab a number out of the air and throw 45 out there and 65 out there. We played around with a lot of dogs that came to mind that maybe they are Hall of Fame dogs, maybe they're not. Most of those dogs fell between 40 and 50 points. That's where we came up with the 45. And there are some pretty good dogs, some very good dogs that maybe they wouldn't quite make it as a competition, or wouldn't quite make it as a reproducer. But combined, as a whole and what they've contributed to the sport, they still absolutely would deserve to go into the Hall of Fame. And that's kind of where this third option or third avenue came from.
And I love that third option, Trevor, because you said it right there, contribution to the sport. If a dog wins their share and produces their share, that to me is a big deal. So, not taking obviously anything away from the dogs in the first two categories, but to do both, I think, is a pretty big contribution to the sport. So, all right. I think what we'll do, let's just go ahead and talk about the Breeder Hall of Fame, Trevor. So that used to be a voting situation like the dogs. That is also going to go to a point system, right, Trevor?
That is correct.
And how that's going to work, it's going to be the same point values that we're getting ready to go over that you are the breeder of to be in the Breeders' Hall, the NHBA going to the Hall of Fame as a breeder. But it's 25% of the value. Okay? Breeders must earn 45 points to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. NHBA will receive nominations along with proof of the hounds and so on and so forth, just like we talked about how the hounds would go in with that proof of record, I guess we'll call it. A person must be the breeder of record with UKC to qualify with wins and accomplishments. All breeders meeting the requirement of December 31st, just like the hounds, guys. Jackets involved again. Breeder must be NHBA member, currently in good standing for 3 consecutive years, same as the other ones, and 25% of the value. So those 40. So you're going to need to produce. What is that, Trevor? 180 points, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And one key point I want to point out on that is a person must be the breeder of record. I'll use myself as an example. I'm not going to get credit for the pups out of say Kane if it wasn't breeding my own females. That's not to say the males, the dogs themselves, won't go in as a breeder or as a reproducer. But as a breeder, you're only going to get credit for what your name is on as breeder of record.
Correct. That's right. I'm glad you brought that up. So, what you heard there, guys, is you're the owner of the female. You're the owner of that litter. So this isn't, because you're the stud dog owner, you're not technically the breeder. And, it's something you want to, I know that might seem like common sense to some people, but we want to make sure everybody is on the same page here. Trevor, one of the questions I have received since we posted this was the other names on the dog, on the female's owner. So, John Smith is listed as the sole signatory on Tina, this dog named Tina. And I'm just making this up, obviously. And he had a partner in the dog who was, Joe Blow or whatever. Does Joe Blow, since he is technically an owner on that dog, does he count as the breeder as well?
I would say yes. I would say yes.
Okay.
I don't think there's a way for us to distinguish one way or the other.
Okay.
Along those lines, I'm not sure if we've already passed this or not, but everybody whose name is on that dog, if people have 4 or 5 names on the dog, they all must be members, not just the first name. Everybody on that dog. So that kind of goes along the same lines there.
I'm glad you remembered that. Okay. All right. So that's our breeder. And I believe Hall of Fame member is still a voting system by the member, the gold member, right, Trevor?
That is correct.
Okay. And don't let me forget when we wrap up here, I want to talk about membership and how much it costs and gold member and those kind of things, if you help me remember that. Okay, Hall of Fame point structure. This is the meat and the potatoes and what we've been waiting on. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I really wish this is how we started this system 20 years ago. And I think this, I'm excited. I'm excited to get this out here to y'all and talk about it on the podcast. And again, you can find all of this on the NHBA Facebook page, on the NHBA podcast page. You can get a hold of me or Trevor or Alan Newby, anybody with NHBA, and we will give you a copy of this, no problem. Right, Trevor? Yeah. I believe we can email or share this, no problem. All right. Okay, Hall of Fame point structure. First place in the NHBA point series. So if you are 1 through 8 in the NHBA point series, you're going to receive Hall of Fame points. Okay, so we just reviewed where we're at in the sectional series right now in that previous segment. So depending on where those dogs finish, they're going to receive Hall of Fame points. And here's how it shakes out. First through 8, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Very simple. 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And again, when you hear this podcast and this is something you want to kind of put to memory, you could have this printed off in front of you or pulled up in front of you and look at it as you're listening to the podcast, and that may help you as well. So, anything else on how the sectional series, Trevor, affects the Hall of Fame?
No, just as we're going down through this, I just want to remind everybody that this is the NHBA Hall of Fame. Yes. So there was emphasis put on the NHBA items.
Absolutely. All right, so there's your NHBA point race and how that factors in the Hall of Fame. Let's move on to NHBA series winner. That's 4 points. NHBA show series runner-up opposite sex is 2 points. And then this here we don't have any more, guys, but remember there'll be some older hounds that will be maybe nominated, so we have to account for the NHBA runoff. Those of you may remember that runoff we used to have on free. And those go first is 4, second 3, 2, 1 down to 4th place in the old days, the runoff. NHBA show-off winner also gets a point. So that covers the old runoff system and the sectionals. Now, some of this information here, this has to do with older point race systems, and you're going to have to help me explain some of this, Trevor. So ever since UKC's inception, as long as I can remember, there has been point races and Hound of the Year races. They may have had different names, but what they were national or regional point races. And some of them culminated in a runoff. Some of them did not. And we want to make sure that we honor those hounds that won those from the past. So some of these might include, or do include actually, the overall winner of the National Challenge Series, which was similar to your sectional series, and that was a UKC administered point race. Your All-Star Series runoff, the old All-Star system that we used to have. Those of you that have been around a while will remember the state race runoff. The National Chase Finals. Okay, you'll remember the Chase. And then the Clash of Champions Finals, which that is your $35,000 event. If a dog did any of those things, they would get 8 points. Okay? And again, those were some of your previous point races in the Clash of Champions. So that's how the Clash Champions fits into this. Your overall Clash Champions dog gets 8 points, and that is how your old point races also fit into this. Runner-up for a National Challenge Series, All-Star Series runoff, State Race runoff, National Chase, and Clash of Champions final cast, 6 points. Okay. Also, we wanted to recognize the regional winners of those systems. Okay, so your regional state winner of an All-Star Series, your State Race Series, National Chase Series, and Clash of Champions region. So if you won the region of a Clash of Champions, okay, that would be 5 Hall of Fame points. Regional State Race runner-up for those set events, All-Star Series, State Race, National Chase, Clash of Champions region. So if you're runner-up at those, that's 4. That's 4 points, okay? And then, again, we're going 3 points to the third place of those events. Let me scroll down here. And that covers, I think that covers the point race stuff, Trevor. That's a little bit confusing for people that may be new.
Yeah, that was everything that we went over. I mean, everything you just covered should cover all of basically the year-long points races and the culmination of those year-long points races, whether there was a runoff or whatever at the end of that.
Yeah, so, we don't have those multiple races anymore. We have the NHBA Sectional Series. That is your point race right now in this format. Before those days, there was a couple different things going on. Now we have the Clash of Champions. We have the Sectional Race. So UKC would administer that Clash of Champions. NHBA kind of takes a hold of that. That's this Sectional Race at UKC on 100 events. All right. Let's get into some of these Big Five events, Trevor. And I've always said that. I don't know if that's an official term, but it seems to have caught popularity, Big Five events. When I say that, guys, I'm talking about NHBA Days, the Eliminator, UKC National Championship, Don McVeigh Senior Memorial Event, and, of course, the UKC World Championship. I always kind of include the Clash, Trevor, in that fifth, in Nationals as part of that weekend as a Big Five. But so when I say that, folks, our listeners, what do you mean by that? Well, that's kind of where my mind goes. All of those events are generally over 200 entry events. There are large events. So naturally, the NHBA, when the Hall of Fame was coming to a point system here, wanted those Big Five events to be represented in this point value. And obviously, your biggest point value is going to be the NHBA Days because this is the NHBA Hall of Fame. Your NHBA Day overall winner is going to get 12 Hall of Fame points. Your second place is going to get 10, third 8, and fourth 6. So you make the final cast at NHBA Days, you're getting a lot of Hall of Fame points. Okay. Overall winner of NHBA Days before 2022 is still 12 points. Okay. Runner-up opposite sex. And again, back in the day, folks, we used to have an opposite sex winner or a runner-up, okay? We're going to honor that for 10 points for those dogs from back then. Individual category winner at NHBA Days. So if you won registered in 2000 whatever, when we still did the different categories, you would get 6 points. This is pre-2022. Total points earned per year not to exceed 12 points from an NHBA Days held prior to 2022. Don't think too hard in that. There's a reason that's in there, just based on how the old structure worked. So That's NHBA days, Trevor, and it's going to be a big factor in dogs making the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. And the 12 points, just to touch on that, or the not to exceed 12 points, just to touch on that. The overall winner used to be a 2-day category winner. So basically, if you won registered both days, you had a very good chance of winning the overall winner of NHBA days. You're not going to get 24 points for that. It's going to be capped at 12.
Right.
With the new format, that won't come up. We've got it structured for that. But we also wanted to honor the dogs in the past before the format was changed.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I forgot to mention, Trevor, the NHBA Days overall show winner also gets 4 points. So you're going to notice as I go through here, guys, you're getting points for the show as well. It counts right in there as part of the Competition Hall of Fame. Let me say that again. The show is not a separate Hall of Fame. This is all one Hall of Fame under those different entities that I talked about a little bit ago. Okay, our second biggest total, Trevor, is going to be the UKC World Championship. We're going to go first place. If you win the World Hunt, that's 11 Hall of Fame points. And it simply goes down to 2 points at 10th place. So 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And that 10th place dog getting 2 Hall of Fame points. World Show winner, 3 Hall of Fame points. Opposite sex World Show, 1 Hall of Fame point. Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward there, guys. So, and again, just to remind everybody, all these points we're talking about, they go towards that 45-point total or that, 65 total for the combo Hall of Fame, Trevor?
Correct.
And that's that's what all this goes toward. Okay, we're going to move on now to the UKC National Championship, which will be another big 5 that affects your Hall of Fame points. If you win a category at Nationals, so juniors, registered, champion, grand, you're going to get 9 Hall of Fame points. 9 Hall of Fame points. If you're second in a category, 7. If you're third in a category, 5. If you're fourth in a category, 3 Hall of Fame points at the UKC Nationals. Nationals overall show winner, 3 points. And that's your UKC Nationals. And we already mentioned the Clash, Trevor. I want to say that was, 8 points if you won the Clash?
I believe so.
Yeah, and it was come down in those increments as well, I explained. So you got the Clash and you have the Nationals on the same week there. All right, your Eliminators. Winner of the Eliminator, East or West, will be 8 points. Second place, 6 points. Third place, 4. Fourth place, 2. If you place 5 through 10th, because at those events we place 10 top 10 hounds, you'll get a point there as well. Your show winner will get a point of the Eliminator. Or I'm sorry, 2 points if you win the Eliminator show. Okay. Next up will be the John McVeigh Senior Memorial Event held in Coshocton, Ohio every September. If you win that event, you're getting 8 Hall of Fame points. If you're second, you're 6. Third, you're 4. Fourth, you're getting 2 Hall of Fame points. If you win the show, that's 2 points. 8642 for the Hall of Fame for the Memorial. So that's pretty straightforward as well. Winner of before I get into that, the show winner gets 2 points, and that covers all of our big 5s, I believe, Trevor.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Okay. Next up, and if you're wondering, yes, state hunts are going to be a part of this. If you are a state champion, if a dog wins a state championship, and I don't mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, Trevor, I don't mean you won registered at a state hunt. I mean you're the overall state champion.
That is
you
correct.
get 4 points. So you get 4 points every time a dog wins a state championship. If you're the winner of a state show, that's 1 point. Okay, that's 1 point. So that's how state hunts will factor into this. And my hope is that really drives people to attend these state hunts because that's a lot of Hall of Fame points. When you consider it takes 45 to be Competition Hall of Fame, you win one state hunt, that's almost 10% of your points needed. So those state hunts can pile up because, and the reason it doesn't sound like much, guys, but you got to figure how many state hunts are there a year. There's a bunch of them. So you could hit state hunts and have a shot at 4 Hall of Fame points every single state hunt. And I think that's going to drive some interest in state hunts, Trevor. It would for me,
It can certainly, as many state hunts as are out there, it could definitely put a dog over the top if they get anywhere close.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, if, West Virginia, Ohio, PA, Maryland, New York, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Indiana, Michigan. I mean, there's, a pile of state hunts right there that a lot of our membership lives a lot, within a few hours of those areas.
Yeah, I think there's 12 or 13 state hunts, I believe.
Is that what we are at now? Okay.
I think.
And I didn't mean to leave anybody out, folks. I mean, I know I probably left Kentucky out, Missouri. I don't know is there still an Iowa State hunt?
Yep,
yeah, Iowa State. Yep. So, did not mean to leave anybody out there if I did. All right. The last thing we're going to talk about for this Hall of Fame, Trevor, is titles. And this is, I want to make sure I get this right. You might have to help me here.
I want to add one thing there, Mitch, before we get to the title part of it. People may be looking at this or listening to this and say, wow, they put a lot of emphasis on the year-long points races or the major hunts. Kind of the way that the NHBA board looked at this is a guy or gal that doesn't want to travel, just wants to stay local at their hunts. UKC has a Hall of Fame for that. Just adding up cast wins, whether that's at a world hunt or a 6-dog club hunt. Mm-hmm. We wanted this to be different and honor the dogs that are competing at the highest levels.
That's right. Good point, Trevor. And again, we're not taking anything away from the UKC Hall of Fame. It's just something different, and we wanted it to be different. The UKC Hall of Fame, I believe, to make Hall of Fame in UKC is 38 cast wins. If I misspoke there. All right, folks, I think we lost Trevor for a second. We'll try and get him back here on the show. So just moving along here, Trevor was making a point there. If you look at the point system here is weighted towards the NHBA sectional race, just based on that's a year-long point race. So it kind of warranted the merit there. And, being the NHBA Hall of Fame, I think that makes a lot of sense. But moving on to these titles, and this is something that I wanted to, I want to show you here, guys, to get your dog, to get these 45 points, to get your dog in the Hall of Fame. These titles are something that most of you have achieved, and it really gives you a leg up on starting a dog's career towards that Hall of Fame status, this new NHBA Hall of Fame status. So, without further ado, let's go down through these UKC titles and see how it helps you with those 45 points towards your NHBA Hall of Fame. So basically, you get a point, guys, for each title earned from, and that's in the field or on the bench, either one, from champion right up to Grand Six, or what we call UKC Hall of Fame. Not to be confused with the NHBA Hall of Fame that we're discussing here. So show champion, you get 1 point. Hunting Beagle champion, 1 point. Grand champion, 1 point. Grand Hunting Beagle champion, 1 point. And then you get a point for each of the subsequent grand titles. So Grand 2, 3, 4, and 5, 1 point for each one of those. Okay. So, and then if that dog becomes it becomes a UKC Hall of Fame, that's a 5 point towards your NHBA Hall of Fame status. And remember, the UKC Hall of Fame is based on cast wins. So I want to say it's like 38 cast wins total to go from champion to Grand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Grand 6, which is the Hall of Fame. So those titles, I'm going to kind of lay this out here in just a second, but those titles really give you a leg up. Now, the last thing you can get points for, we went over the Big Five and how those how you get Hall of Fame points there. We've talked about state hunts. You get 4 points for winning a state hunt. We've talked about the sectional race and how that you get points there. The last thing we're going to cover is as follows. So So listen to this, guys. So if all owners of record for a hound are NHBA Gold members in good standing for 3 consecutive years, at least 3 consecutive years, at the time of a hound's nomination, that hound will receive 2 points towards Hall of Fame. What's that mean? Well, if all owners on a dog are Gold members for 3 years, when you nominate that dog, you automatically get 2 points, which is pretty significant, guys, because that 2 points would be the equivalent of getting 4th at the Don McVeigh Memorial Hunt. That's 2 points. Eliminator, you get 2 points. Let me see here. Yeah, 2 points for 4th place at the Eliminator. So it's like being the equivalent of making a Big 5 final as far as point value goes for those 2 Big 5 events. So let's just kind of give some scenarios here of how do you get your dog into this Hall of Fame. And if you've been keeping track as you've been listening to this, you probably noticed that, man, I get a lot of points. My dog can get a lot of points with these titles and membership. And you're absolutely correct. So let's just say your dog makes dual grand. Grand on the bench, grand in the field. Just grand 1, not grand 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Just grand, dual grand, hunt, and bench. That's 4 points. Let's say the owners on the dog are all Gold members for 3 years. That dog gets another 2 points. So that's 6. That's 6 year 45 right there off the top. All right. Now let's just pick something out here. Okay, let's just pick something out here. We're going to throw in this sectional race, this sectional series race. Let's say one time in that dog's career, you decide you're going to run points, and the dog finishes 8th in the points. That counts as 4 points, guys, for your Hall of Fame. 4 points for making the 8th place in the sectional race. So what I've just laid out there is 10 Hall of Fame points, 10 of your 45 attained that way. So you can see the pathway, how that dog is a quarter of the way there already, if that scenario was viable. So, you know, I'm excited. We mentioned this earlier. I'm excited about this, guys. You know, I think this is something that's been needed. Matter of fact, I brought this up over a decade ago, you know, about how much better I think a point system would be for our Hall of Fame. It just makes a lot of sense to me. I hope everybody's excited for it. You know, the first thing that I know a lot of people did when they saw this, you know, they started to think about dogs they have or had in the past, and they started figuring out how many Hall of Fame points they have. And, you know, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the point value is fair. You know, you got to remember this is a Hall of Fame. This is something that should be difficult. It shouldn't be something that every single dog achieves. You know, it should be something that it honors dogs that have really achieved. But I also think it's a number that's attainable to good dogs. So that kind of wraps up the Hall of Fame change. You know, we went through how to get into the competition Hall of Fame, guys. We talked about you can go in. A dog can go in also as a reproducer. And a dog can go in as a combination hound, you know, combination of Hall of Fame and competition. So we looked at that 45 points, and I'm just recapping here a minute. You know, we mentioned the Breeders' Hall of Fame, which is still the 45-point value. It's just you multiply that by your 25% to get your number. So if you have any questions, just give me a holler or Trevor, or reach out to anybody at NHBA. We'd be glad to answer any questions you got. I know this is a big change. Take us a little bit here to get used to this. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing those. You know, this winter, seeing those first nominations with this point value. To me, it's a very prestigious thing to go into this Hall of Fame, and I think this just adds to that. So, if you'd like a hard copy, I know hearing us talk about it, if you haven't seen this, you can find it on the NHBA Facebook page. If you would like me to email you a hard copy, I'll be glad to do it. And you can print that off or whatever you want to do. So feel free. Any questions, anything, just let me know in regards to to this new Hall of Fame format. All right, so just want to mention, guys, as we were kind of finishing up the podcast here, I had learned that I want to talk about some of these upcoming sectionals. So, you've got Homer, Michigan, super sectional this, I want to say August 6th. So get out there, guys. That's going to be a good one. We got, as we mentioned, a lot of people are so close. That hunt could mean a lot. Those four casts, those 4 rounds. But I learned that the Dale Prunty Memorial will now be hosted by the Greene County Bigglers. Brave, PA will be hosting that event here at the end of August. That'll be that's a single point 2-day event. So that's a change to the schedule, guys. Going to be right up the road from where it previously was held in Kirby. So get out there and support these clubs holding these sectionals, guys. Also, Brave has their annual PA youth hunt. I want to say August the 6th, Saturday. And they do a fantastic job for these kids, guys. They really do. I think this is the 3rd, maybe 4th year they've hosted this. I know my daughter is really excited to go this year. So if you catch this podcast before then, try to get up there to that youth hunt. If you've got a youngster that likes these dogs, they really do a great job. So, all right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Really appreciate each and every one of you listening. And we'll be seeing you soon. Get out and support these sectionals. Don't forget to join the NHBA, guys. And we'll be seeing you soon. All right, guys, that's going to conclude episode 6. Appreciate each and every one of you listening. If you got any questions on anything you heard on today's show, reach out to me or Trevor or anybody at the NHBA. We'd be glad to help you. Don't forget to join the NHBA if you haven't already. We'd love to have you. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. And have a great and blessed day.